Hello everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, Lance Meister, and this is Bat Flip. Bat Flip is a two-player, baseball-themed card battling game, I guess would be a good way to describe it. It is baseball-themed. It is not endorsed by MLB Baseball or anything, so the teams in it are definitely made up, but you can definitely see that there may be caricatures of real-life baseball teams as well. When I was contacted about the interest in playing this, when they said baseball, basically I said, sure, let's do it. Baseball is something that I've always loved. I played it for many, many years after I wasn't fast enough or good enough to play baseball. I played softball for many, many years. I have been a rabid fan of the Minnesota Twins pretty much my entire life, and I was in the stands for the 1991 World Series. I've played tons of baseball games. And Stratomatic is the one that just comes back. I have fond memories of playing Stratomatic baseball at the lake cabin with my buddies, and it's just a fantastic game. But that is a simulation game. It is just basically like, what if, like, hey, let's have Reggie Jackson bat against Mike Moore or something like that. I'm just dragging names out of my head right now, and see what happens, kind of thing. This is a game that has extreme Euro elements going on. It has strategic card play, and also not a deck building. And I mentioned this. I'll mention this probably in my how the game is played. But you kind of plan your deck a little bit and kind of set yourself up for success, if you will. But enough about this. Let me show you how the game is played, and I'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts on this really, really fun game. Alright, so this is Bat Flip. Now, I'm going to assume you know how to play a game of baseball, but if you don't really need to. Basically, baseball is a game in which each person tries to score as many runs before they get 3 outs, and they go back and forth, and after a bunch of innings go by, you see who has got the most runs or points, and whoever did that will win the game. So in this game, there is a 3-inning game, meaning the game is going to take 3 turns, and you still get those 3 outs each turn. You score as many points, then the other person tries to score points, and you're going to do that back and forth 3 times over, and then whoever scores the most points will win. In Bat Flip, you're going to get this giant deck of cards. It is huge. In this deck of cards, there's a bunch of different baseball teams. And each one of these baseball teams has their own kind of unique style and special powers that are going to be useful as you're trying to score those points. And they have cool little names like the Pinchers and the Small Ballers, and here's the Stars and Scrubs, here's the Aces, and so on and so forth. And this isn't actually all the cards. As you can see, I have actually already created a couple of teams out here. The way you create a team is that you determine, you kind of just figure out who's going to pick first. That person gets to pick the first team that they want, and then the other person picks 2 teams, and then that first person picks another team. Then you take all those cards that you picked, you shuffle them together, and you create a deck that's going to be like this, that you're going to use to determine what type of players you're going to be using as the game progresses. I'll get into that in just a little bit, but you're going to draw 5 cards. There's a maximum of, you have a hand limit of 7 cards because you can draw cards as the game progresses. Obviously, you're probably going to need to because you're going to replenish your deck. And if you have a pitcher card, when you draw, you get to place a pitcher out on your diamond. It's always a good idea to have a pitcher. The reason why it's good to have a pitcher is because they have a stat that is a control stat. Like this one has a control stat of 3. This one has a control stat of 2. You can, as the batter, choose to try to walk and go against that stat. And if you can exceed it, then you can get a free pass to a base, and instead of trying to have to hit and deal with the defense that your players have. But I'm getting a little bit beyond myself, so let's just talk more about how the game progresses. All right, so as I said, I dealt out a hand of cards, and I just built the 2 team decks, as you see here. And when my turn comes, when you decide if you want to hit, you're going to decide if you're going to hit or if you're going to try to walk. Now, you can't just keep walking over and over again. There is a limitation. You are never allowed to choose to try to walk twice in a row. Plus, the bad thing about walking is that you're going to only get one base, whereas if you hit, and if you hit well enough, you can actually get extra bases and possibly score more runs and drive more runners around the bases and so on and so forth. So I have my hand here. And what's going to happen is that as my player, I'm going to try to choose, and I'm batting against this pitcher here. Do I want to walk? Do I want that free? And mind you, the reason why you want to walk, even if it's only one base, is a lot safer because you're dealing with attributes that you know. I know the control of this pitcher is a 2, meaning that if I can exceed that 2, not meet, I have to exceed that. If I can exceed that 2 with my with the same the vision of the batter here, then I can get that base. But so this guy's got a 2, so that's not going to be good enough. And so I can kind of go through, and this is a pitcher, so that's not going to help me at all. This guy's got a 1. He can't do anything. This guy's got a 4, but I probably don't want to play him, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. And this guy's got a 2. So I can't walk with any of these players ever. So this one has a 4, and you say, why wouldn't I use that? Well, Abraham Cash is kind of like one of my really, really good players. And so this is the team that's the Moneybags. Notice that they kind of have a New York Yankees logo, but anyway. It says here, when you play Abraham Cash, you have to discard 2 cards from your hand. Well, I don't want to do that. Plus, he's got a hit of 4. So I'd rather just hold on to him, and hopefully I can pull off something where he'd be able to hit and get some extra bases and do some extra stuff for me. So what I want to do is I got to pick a card from my hand I want to hit with. And I'm going to hope that the player I'm playing doesn't have good defensive cards to play against that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here. And always look at the extra information in here. Like this one says, if I discard Richie Gold from your hand, your opponent may not defend with a pitcher this at bat. Well, why does that matter? Well, pitchers tend to be very, very good at defense. They can defend both fly balls and ground balls. Now you might be saying, what am I talking about there? Well, here let's look at Abraham Cash. You can see that he's got a 4 hit, but then it has this little up arrow, meaning that if I hit with him, the player has to try to defend with somebody that has a fly ball up arrow, and pitchers can defend against both. So that's kind of as you can see, if okay, well, if I discard Richie Gold and then I play Abraham Cash, meaning I'm getting rid of all my cards, which is kind of stinky, but I'm gonna have a chance of that guy can't use a pitcher to defend against him, and maybe he doesn't have the right cards to play. Now I should mention that how you get more cards in your hand. Every time a run is scored, you're going to draw, each person draws a card out of their deck and adds it to their hand. Every time an out is recorded, you draw a card from both players get to draw a card and add that to their hand. To add another wrinkle to that, the person who's batting can choose to take a strikeout, but they have to discard a card to do so. Now, you might be saying, well, why do I want to do that? Well, if you choose to take a strikeout, you discard a card, you take an out, and then you not only get to draw 1 card for the out, but you also get to draw a card to replace the card you discarded. So you're going to get to draw 2 cards, whereas your opponent's only going to be able to draw 1. So let's just try this out. Let's do what I was talking about. I'm going to take Richie Gold, and I'm going to say, I'm going to play this one, and I'm going to push that down like so, and I'm going to say I'm discarding that, meaning that my opponent cannot use a pitcher, and I'm just going to go for broke. I'm going to play Abraham Cash because he's got a 4, meaning he can possibly hit a home run because that's 4 bases. He's got a 4, and it is a fly ball. And I'm going to play that as my batter, like so. Now, because I played that, I have to get rid of 2 more of my cards. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll discard these 2 as well, and I'll keep this card in my hand. Now, the player here is now they're kind of in a bind because, oh my gosh, well, I need to have a fly ball defender. So the defense ability is down here on the bottom of the deck. And this one has a 2, but it's a ground ball. That's no good. This is a pitcher, so that's going to be a 1, but I can't play a pitcher because that guy played that card. Here's a 2, but no special ability on there at all. Here's another 2, a ground ball. Here's a 4, but it's a ground ball. I don't have anything to defend, so I'm going to say, well, that stinks. Go ahead. So they're going to hit a 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to score. And then we're going to go ahead and give them that 1 run like so. Because we scored that 1 run, we get to draw a card from here. We're going to draw another card over here, add it to my hand, and now we get to go again. So I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to see what I got. So I have Kyle Filth of the Dirtbags. So Injure has the ability to look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, your opponent discards that card, then your opponent draws a card. Or I can say I have Diego Sociedad from the Dirtbags. And then he's a catcher. This catchers are pretty good abilities, and I like having these in my hand because they can automatically defend against steals. Diego gets a +3 to hit if your opponent discarded a card from their hand during this half inning. Well, they haven't had a half inning yet. So let's go ahead. I'll play Kyle Filth. He's got a batting of 3, and it's just a straight batting of 3. And then now we're going to go ahead. What did we draw? Well, we actually drew Johnny Conis, who would have been able to hold that guy to a double, but we didn't have in our hand. And so now to defend against that, what I can do is, well, I have this 4 ground ball, but I kind of want to hold on to that. So, oh man, I don't want to get rid of my juice guy either. So, like, the cool thing about the juicers is that juice. When this player is played as a batter, your next batter gets a +2 to hit. So, let's see here. It is a 2 ground ball. Well, let's just play, we'll play the first baseman here. Johnny Basura, and then he's got a 2 and like down. So we'll play that as our defender. We'll defend against him. He'll get 1 base over because he has a batting of 3, and this is a defender of 2. So we're going to go and do that, and he gets to first base. Now, stealing. And I'm going to show you how stealing works. So each player now has a stat that is their speed, and this guy has a speed of 2. So what I can do is I can decide, do I want to steal with that particular player, meaning I can try to get to the next possible spot. And what I'm going to, if I decide to say he's going to steal second, then the other player gets a chance to defend. Stealing is very difficult, though, unless you have a very good speed, because once again, all they have to have is a player that has a defense on there. Now, it could be a situation where maybe your player doesn't have any hands. They played all the cards out of their hand and they can no longer defend. When that happens, the defender still gets to draw a card from the top of their deck and flip it over and see if they are able to defend against it. So I probably wouldn't steal with this guy because this guy's got a lot of hand. Because if I did choose to steal, all he'd have to do is just say, well, I'm going to play, I even have the catcher. And notice how it's like a catcher. When this player defends against a steal, the runner is out. And so like if I said I'm going to try to steal second, boom, play that, he's out. And then once again, and with an out, we would then go ahead and each person would get to draw a card again. But let's not do that. Let's not have him steal. And I'm going to show you the last little thing that you can do, which is the bat flip. So on your turn, what you can do is once per turn, and this is when it goes to the other side, you can see the bat flip is grayed out. What you'll do is you say, I'm going to do bat flip. And what you do when you bat flip is that you don't draw a card at all. You're going to just take the top card of your deck, you're going to flip it over, and you're going to resolve it. And the clue here is that the other player can't defend against it. So it's like just a free swing. Now, if you draw a pitcher when you turn this over, it's still an out. So let's just see what would happen. So we're gonna do the bat flip, and look at this. I didn't set this up, I swear. Sherman Tycoon, he's the DH. Boom, he's got a 4. So like so, he's gonna hit a 2-run homer. He's gonna come home. He's gonna come home. 2 more runs score. I go up there, and now we're gonna draw more cards, and we're just gonna continue playing. Eventually, I would get 3 outs, right? And then the other player would get to go and do the same thing back. But you can see how this works. Now, a couple of things I didn't do, like you notice how when your pitchers are out there, occasionally you might play a pitcher out of your hand as a defender. That's a completely normal thing. When you do that, they have to go in for the other pitcher. The same thing goes that if for some reason, if I'm batting and I play a pitcher for some reason, like if I turned the top card over and it was a pitcher, if I turned that over, they would go in for the pitcher. That just like in real life, you substitute out the pitchers like so. And final thing, just like in real life, if you end up tied after 3 innings, you do go into extra innings, and you'll keep playing until after a full inning, one person has scored more runs than the other. This is not this game belies the depth of the strategy. I wish I could go through each of the cool different teams that are here that have all these different special abilities, and they work well with each other. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of trying to like scour through my old Stratomatic baseball cards and put together like a team that has good speed but power, or contact hitting and good defense, things like that. And I kind of like that. But this is obviously on a more traditional strategy instead of a simulation. This is more of a Euro card, Euro game kind of deck planning a game, if you will, because this isn't deck building, right? You're not building a deck, you're not like buying cards and anything, but you definitely are putting 2 types of teams together for the best possible effect. I really enjoyed that. But it's baseball. It's a fun game. It plays quick. It teaches quick. What's not to love? Nothing. But I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts. Oh, let's see that it was the bat flip, and I flipped it. Okay. Anyway. I mean, the game is fun, and it is 2-player. It kind of does. First of all, let's just talk about 2-player games. There are big, long, epic 2-player games and what have you, and that's all well and good. And some of like the like best games ever are giant, long, epic 2-player games like War of the Ring or things like that. However, 2-player games to me are games that you can teach very quickly. Both people are very well acquainted with the rules, and you can play a game 10, 20 minutes, and that's how long it lasts. The reason for that, in my opinion, is because you can kind of get done with that one, and then you can choose to play another one. Or if you want to play an entirely different game, that's on the table as well. And that's what I really enjoy about my 2-player games. Most of the 2-player games I play with my daughter, or I play with my son, or I play with my wife. They are family oriented, and we play them competitively, very competitively, I might add. But they do not overstay their welcome. And but they're still challenging. They don't set me up for a great amount of success, because let's face it, with the thousands of board games I've played, I do have a leg up against people in my family. So they aren't so complex that I'm the only one that can really grok them, and I've got a better chance of winning. But they are still challenging enough that have meat on the bone that everybody's going to be interested in figuring out how to play. The baseball theme just helps that out a lot. And Bat Flip has that in spades. It has, one, the baseball theme, but has also just very, very clever card play. When I first got the game, I was like, okay, this looks kind of neat. And I sat down and I just played it solo against myself. And I was like, okay, that was kind of neat. That was fun. And then my daughter got home from school, and I said, hey, try this out with me. And we ended up playing it I got 9 times, right away. And she was, and she's a huge, deck building fan. So, she couldn't, she was big on, going through each team, reading the abilities of each card, and then figuring out, well, this team would really work well with this team, and this team would really work well with this team, and these 2 teams, not so much. And that was kind of fun for me to see her kind of dive in and mess with it, and get into the gears and get into the guts of the game and having fun with it. I am more of, as I said in a lot of these videos, an exploratory gamer. I'm like, whatever, just give me 2 teams. Let's see how it shakes out. Let's see what happens. And the nice thing about this game is that, especially after those first couple plays, there was some scores that were a little weeble wobble and out of sync. But for the most part, once me and my opponent were grokking what was going on and really, really following suit, the games weren't runaway games by any means. They were very, very highly competitive affairs where like you're just barely squeaking out a 1 or 2 run win, or like going into extra innings and pulling off like an upset, maybe coming from behind or whatever. There was a very, very fantastic game my daughter had beating me. She was down by like 5, and she just had a fabulous inning where every card just seemed to work just perfectly and great synergy. And that was just a really, really fun game. I lost, but I was like, I thought, one, I was impressed with her card play, and two, I was just impressed with the game, like kind of had that fun little narrative, fun little story, fun little seesaw going on, like, as you will. So, I mean, what type of people are going to like this game? Well, if you're a 2-player game person, if you play a lot of games with your family and you're looking for something that like you can sit down and play, Bat Flip's going to be really, really fun. It's going to help if you're a baseball fan, but it's not necessary either. And if you have that one person in your family, whether like this, I sprung this on my father, and he actually, after I got him going with the rules, he actually really enjoyed it. If you have that one person in your family that is a baseball fan, and you're looking for something that can kind of bridge the gap and get them into that hobby of yours and get them like kind of jonesing for the next game and the next game and the next game that you can present to them, this is going to probably foot the bill for you, because it's going to have a theme that they're going to recognize. They're going to be able to figure out the rules really quickly, and they're going to have fun too. So there you go. That's Bat Flip. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and you have an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.